Welcome. I'm Jessica Tejan, and this is the Evolving to Exceptional podcast, where we talk about reaching peak performance in our workplaces, homes, and communities so that we can live our best life possible, an exceptional life. Welcome back to the Evolving to Exceptional podcast. This is Jessica, and we are going to be continuing on with our Evolving Workplaces series, talking about purpose-grounded direction. Today is a special day because I decided to bring on my father, Larry Tejan, who is a longtime business owner, ran a business for over 30 years as the CEO and executive, has lots of experience with workplace challenges, and particularly in this space has helped to shape my beliefs and understanding around the significance and importance of creating this purpose-grounded direction. So thank you. Welcome, Larry, to the Evolving to Exceptional podcast.
Glad to be here with you.
So we recently talked about in a prior episode why focusing primarily on profit can be a challenge and have significant negative consequences in the workplace. So what then is going to drive the workplace forward, creating the focus and foundation for the business existence in the first place? In the Evolving Workplaces framework, we've created a method we call purpose-grounded direction. Our wording here is very important because direction without grounding can lead workplaces to fly from one thing to the next. The objective of grounded direction is to create clarity of purpose and passion for the people who are responsible for executing on them. To help stay grounded in what, why, and how the business is executed, and to create the intended impact in the world. Grounded direction creates stability and alignment in the reason the business exists and how the business exists. Grounded direction defines the vision, the why do we exist, the mission, what do we do, and the strategy, how will we succeed. So how is this model different from traditional models? You've all probably heard of vision, mission, and strategy before. Those words are not new terms to the business world. But our model is built on these traditional business models that define directionally where the business is going. However, we've chosen to incorporate what we know about the multiple intelligences, the multiple brains, to ensure each element is implemented more effectively. What we've seen in many instances in workplaces is that workplaces define their vision in a boardroom and only the leaders are truly emotionally connected to the vision. Or a strategy is created, but then never reviewed regularly to ensure that the actions taken by employees on a day-to-day basis align with the strategy. A mission may be written, but not actually align with why people choose to work for the business or even become a customer of the business. Therefore, it exists, but does not actually generate the intended results. So I'm curious, Larry, in your many years of experience, if you have any examples of where you've seen this play out, where you've seen, a strategy, mission, or vision get defined and not effectively integrated into the organization.
Yes, Jessica. Actually, early in my career, I worked hard at the development of vision, mission, core values, and worked with our leadership team, I thought, to put them in place. And we would hold company meetings monthly, and I would communicate these concepts. About a year and a half later, and this was early after I had taken over the business, about a year and a half later, we had a consultant come in and talk about how important vision, mission, and core values and strategy are. And everybody said, yeah, we don't have that. We need to figure out what that is. And that was a wake-up call for me that just because I knew what the vision, mission, strategy, and core values were, didn't mean the rest of the organization was aligned with me.
I think that's a powerful statement to the challenge that exists with integrating what gets created and really having people connect to and understand it, right?
Right. It was that wake-up call that really had me realize that you really had to have a bottom-up and a top-down grounded, I like your word, grounded direction, alignment of why you're existing, what you're going to do, and then how you're going to accomplish that in terms that people can emotionally connect with and actually empower them in their day-to-day work so they can make the appropriate decisions, and you don't have to rely on systems and structures for the performance of your organization.
I agree. And I think the other piece of the grounding that's so important, and I've seen this now getting to work with other small businesses in particular, that there are so many things that can get your attention that can distract you and potentially deviate you from the purpose that you started out with. So really being clear on your direction and grounded in it and coming back to it regularly, maybe even more than once a year, quarterly, to make sure that you're still on the same page or you're still in the same direction as what you initially intended for your business to be doing. And I think especially with small organizations that are growing quickly, that can be a real challenge. So let's start by looking at the direction part of this method of our framework and looking at it in terms of the three intelligences, the three brains, and how they are tied to each of these elements. So we've talked in some prior episodes about the three brains, the head, the heart, and the gut, and that we have neurons in all three that impact why we make decisions, how we make decisions, and how we perform. So starting with vision, why do we exist? This element is actually directly related to the heart. The vision is meant to provide passion around a particular purpose, to energize and excite people to execute on the work in order to achieve this shared vision or purpose. Therefore, the vision must tap into emotion, interpersonal connection, or shared values to drive the passion and energy around purpose or vision. The vision must ignite an emotional response within people, and if it does not, then it will not serve its intended purpose. Workplaces that try to define a vision as grow to be 2 times our current size or double our revenue fail to connect with their people's emotion, what will connect and ignite that passion within their people. Whereas workplaces that tap into the emotion with to put a computer in every home, as some people may remember was Apple's original model, will ignite the passion of people. So Larry, in your experience around vision setting, have you ever seen this disconnect, or as you've worked with various leaders to define their vision, where they've struggled to identify or how they've gone about identifying something that would connect with and create passion in their people?
Yes, Jessica, I have. Many companies that I've helped work with or leadership teams that I've worked with tend to start with a goal, a number, or even some call it a big BHAG goal. And people don't tend to connect with the numbers, like you said, triple our revenues by a certain period of time. People really connect with the emotional vision of what are we trying to accomplish in the why we exist. And for me, what was always important of why we exist, the businesses that I ran, we existed for 2 key purposes. 1, to serve our customers, and 2, more importantly, to serve our employees. Because if we served and took care and had alignment with our employees, we would for sure then be able to take care of our customers.
So with that vision, it's so important, I think, to find out of one of those 3 things, that emotion, that connection, or those shared values, to really tap into that energy and that intelligence of our people. The next one is mission. So mission is what do we do? And mission is directly related to the gut. The mission is meant to motivate people to action. Remember, our guts are responsible for mobilization. So to know what the workplace does and to tap into their motivation to act on purpose. If a mission statement is too vague or difficult to understand, it's going to fail to motivate people or provide clarity of purpose. Furthermore, if done right, the mission can actually help you to focus and call in the people you're intending to serve or impact who align with and support your mission. So if you can get clear on that mission, if you can get clear on the type of people that are going to be passionate about and connected to and take action on and motivated by the work you're doing, then you can actually attract those people into your organization for that reason. I think it's harder to convince people who are already there to align with or be motivated by a mission that doesn't resonate with them. So that can be challenging, for organizations as they're going through this process or as they're going through multiple rounds of what is it that we really do as a business and how do we help people be motivated to do what we do. What have you seen in the area of mission setting, or have you seen this come up in the area of mission setting where they don't connect to what motivates people?
Jessica, I kind of have seen more of the flip side where a properly crafted mission that connects with people can be very powerful to create action. I never really thought of mission as being related to the gut or as you talk about the gut brain. That's new to me. But belief is one of my top 5 strengths. And I always have used the term that belief creates emotion and emotion creates action. And so if you have a mission that people can believe in, that'll create emotion around that mission and that'll create action. And I think that's what you're talking about when you talk about the gut. In your gut, this is the right thing to do, or the gut is telling you to actually take some action.
Yeah, and I think I would take that a step further and say I think it's also the connection with what is motivating to people. So what gets them to take that action? And the difficulty, I think, in setting the mission is that people are motivated by different things. So when the missions get defined, then it becomes important to work with your individual people to connect them to that mission. One of Gallup's questions is all around the mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. And what I found is that can be really difficult for people in certain roles to connect to what the organization is doing or the mission that they have and derive motivation from it. But if you can do that, you're going to get that higher performance out of your people.
Yeah, Jessica, that's really important because I have seen many people in companies unable to see their role in the broader mission of the organization. So helping people connect with the mission and then realize that every role within an organization, no matter whether you're the CEO or you're the receptionist, all roles are important and help lead to the ultimate delivery of the mission.
Absolutely. And I think what you said earlier is true too. I think that in most cases, it is more that companies don't get the benefit of aligning people with the mission rather than their mission actually negatively impacting performance. I think it's more about that when you can do this well, you're going to see that uptick. You're going to see that increased motivation and engagement of your people. So next, talking about strategy. Strategy is how we will succeed. And it's directly related to, yep, you guessed it, the head. Strategy is about how we succeed, the intentional choices the workplace or business is making to determine how they will execute their business, which is why so often traditional businesses get stuck in strategy. They come up with the most amazing strategy that must be successful, but if they fail to help their people understand it, then strategy is mostly a dust-covered document no one pays attention to. For strategy to be successful, the strategy must be fully understood by the people or employees executing on it. If the strategy is too complex to understand or communicated ineffectively, it's not going to serve the same purpose. I think one of my favorite examples that I know we looked at as an organization was Southwest's strategy. and that everyone within Southwest understood their strategy. They understood how what they do contributes to that, how they were given freedom and value to be themselves, those that worked for Southwest, and the purpose and reason for Southwest existence, and how they were executing on that, how they were different from all the other airlines that exist out there, and that's how they differentiated themselves. I've also seen it where the strategy is so complicated, people don't even remember what it is anymore.
Yeah, Jessica, it's interesting that you bring up Southwest, because Southwest's strategy, when you listen to their leadership talk, it's not only about what they are going to do as a strategy, but it also lays out what they're not going to do as an organization. And so what's really important about mission and strategy, and as we speak about strategy, is that provides the clarity of who we're going to serve and what's the priority, what we're going to do. If we begin doing things that you can't tie back to the strategy, you've got to ask yourself the question, why are we doing this?
To take that one step further, even if you can tie it back, if your strategy is so broad or so extensive that you can tie anything to it, people become confused on how the strategy contributes, how it helps with how you're going to be successful or how you're going to be differentiated. And so then if people can't understand, right, if it's their head brain, if they can't understand which things are really important, or if the business is making conflicting decisions that conflict with the strategy as they understand it, then they're going to start to discount the strategy's significance and importance in the running of the business.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, Jessica. And the one thing that I've seen over my career is that vision and mission stay fairly constant if you have good clarity there. But the strategy moves because things change very quickly. And what might have been the strategy for prior to the pandemic probably is not the strategy post-pandemic. Having people be able to understand it and have it be clear and specific is critical to the success of an organization.
Yeah, I think you make a good point that in today's world, and in reading some recent books that have come out around the future of the workplace, the rate at which organizations are changing and the challenges that they're facing that are so unique and so quick, that strategy has to almost be updated frequently, and those changes communicated early and often to all of the people so that they have that clarity. And I think that communication piece is often what goes missing. It gets communicated once, but if something's not put in front of people repeatedly and reinforced, we forget about it. We get busy. We don't have time. So it's really important that the performance practices actually incorporate this grounded direction, each of these elements in those conversations with people. So what does this look like in an evolving workplace? When evolving workplaces address each of the intelligences needed to truly incorporate the vision, mission, and strategy successfully, they will see tremendous results due to the alignment and clarity employees feel between their brains and the business overall. Essentially, the whole business is operating in flow state, in that state where you lose track of time. And in a flow state of alignment, it is setting up the business to successfully create significant results and outcomes. However, even with all these elements addressed successfully, they must also be grounded into the workplace if they're going to be successful. Any thoughts, Larry, on this model of the evolving workplace and integrating all three?
No, Jessica, I think I don't really have a lot to add to what you've said, because I'm in very much alignment that clarity is really important with your people in the organization in order to be successful. And evolving means constantly looking at and reviewing that clarity to make sure you are continuously growing and evolving to be successful.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into what it means, what it really means to have grounded, purpose-grounded direction in the workplace. So historically, and I think, I was guilty of this and we were guilty of this in the past, businesses often define vision, mission, strategy, and maybe they communicate it to their organization initially or even periodically. But if they do not integrate it into their practices and ground it into their existence, it's going to inevitably be pushed to the side. So what do I mean? When work gets busy, we begin to slip away from the direction we defined. We might be pulled towards new opportunities to make money, to new products we could sell, to new businesses we might want to work with or even acquire. As this activity accumulates, individuals get further and further from the initial direction they defined for the workplace. As they drift away, they begin to fly from one thing to the next and fail to reground themselves in their direction. With a world changing so quickly, we must have a way to stay steady amidst the constant challenges and changes occurring in our environment. So evolving workplaces really aim to be intentional with their choices to pivot, change, or adjust in response to changes in their environment, and to do so as a collective rather than on an ad hoc basis. I heard a stock investor once say that we better just get used to the boom and the busts of the marketplace because inevitably we'll continue to experience them. If his statement is true, and by all accounts it appears this will be the case, then we must shape our business practices around the notion of change, not around stability. In an evolving workplace, the direction setting gets grounded into the business execution, approach, and practices. Direction does not remain an annual, quarterly, or leadership-only activity, but is a part of what individual employees are doing regularly in their performance. By grounding our direction, we're incorporating our gut intelligence to create stability in the workplace, identity, and safety in the decision-making related to the workplace. Essentially, we want the evolving workplace's grounded direction practices to help them stay steady amidst the storms or allow them to ride the waves while maintaining a lifeline to shore.
That's pretty powerful stuff, Jessica. I've always talked about that organizations are perfectly aligned for the results that they're getting. And so if you're unhappy with some results, and in today's environment with things moving so quickly, you can become unhappy with the results that you are getting as an organization or as a person in the organization. And like I said, I think we're perfectly aligned for the results that we're getting. Many people tend to go and look at their systems and structures and start tweaking performance plans or incentive plans or put in place processes to try to drive behaviors. And I've always believed that what you're talking about here, grounding on the vision, mission, strategy, and values of an organization, that's where you have to look, because that's most likely where you're out of whack if you're not generating the results that you would like to achieve as an organization.
I think the step there is, how do you then ground that direction? How do you then incorporate that knowledge, that awareness, that effort in a way that it is not simply a intellectual activity? Going back to, we can get really caught in our head and get really proud of ourselves for defining it, but if we don't actually connect it to our people, we're not going to have the same effect. And so grounding direction really needs to be an activity done by all employees, not just the executive leaders or not just the managers in the organization. The direction has to be defined clearly and simply enough that all employees cannot just remember it, but have to be able to revisit it frequently in the execution of their work. That it is something that they consider as they are making good decisions about the work they're doing. I recently heard a statistic around how many employees just want the empowerment to make their own decisions, and providing this grounded direction actually would allow them to make better decisions amidst their workplace and their working environment. And so it really has to occur throughout the execution of work, and especially at times of change, new opportunities, or challenges. So anytime something significant is shifting in the workplace, even just a little bit, employees following the grounded direction approach ensure that they're either aligned with the direction or whether the business direction needs to shift. So if you think about going through the pandemic and how much was shifting and changing as businesses were having to respond to that, I wonder how frequently most businesses were really going back to and redefining that direction and recommunicating that direction to create that alignment and understanding and communicate that to their employees. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Jessica, I laugh as you talk about how many companies really put communication out front. And what I've seen is when there's lots of change and lots of balls in the air and lots of things to struggle with, executives seem to pull back communication as opposed to step up communication. And my observation over the years has been that the companies that are consistent in their communication and step up communication with the people in the organization to provide that clarity and alignment are the organizations that are very successful and adapt quickly when there's lots of change in the environment. You know, I'm a fan of Lencioni. You know, his books and his approaches. And I really like his communication methodology, which is the trickle-down communication. Everybody's responsible for communicating from whatever happens in the boardroom all the way on out down in the organization to the employees. And I find that very important.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed in my conversations with various organizations is that employees who are getting regular communication and transparency spend much less time confused, thinking up stories, or wondering what's really going on. So rather than a distraction, communication actually allows employees to focus more on the work that they're doing by alleviating the concerns that they would be thinking about in either case. So when you communicate and you provide that clarity, you eliminate all of the angst and the energy that goes towards being unsure of what the expectations are, of how they're supposed to be responding and what they're supposed to be doing. And I think grounded direction really needs to get incorporated into all of the employee and leadership conversations that occur on a regular basis and really incorporated in a way that they can be realigned, reconfirmed, and in the midst of all of the work being executed. And I actually think this serves two purposes. So first, it keeps the vision, mission, and strategy, the passion or the heart of the work, the motivation or gut of the work, and the thinking or head of the work always at the top of minds of employees. So when you incorporate it into conversations you're having anyway, when you incorporate it into decision-making processes, when you incorporate it into company meetings or communications, then employees are always thinking about and never forget those elements. And it reminds them of their energy, motivation, and intended approach on a regular basis. The second thing I think it does is that it ensures any action that might deviate or be contradictory to the direction is addressed early and often so it can be considered before additional time investment is made. So if we're going back to our grounded direction, we can make a decision before we make additional investment or time or spend energy on something that is not going to move forward, is not going to be approved, or is not going to be the direction that the business is going to go in or the workplace is going to support. And so I think both of those things have a huge impact on the performance and the results that you see of individuals and of the collective organization.
I would agree with you, Jessica. I've seen many organizations implement planning processes that are at the executive level, and the planning processes lay out a 3-year plan. And then once the planning process is done, that 3-year plan kind of sits on the shelf and gets dusty and doesn't really get brought back up. And, I'm a firm believer in at least an annual planning process around alignment of your high-level activities, and then agile goal setting and responsibilities and outcomes process that is fluid, so employees really can connect to what's important today, not what was important yesterday.
That's an interesting thing you bring up too, because when we think of grounded direction, that is kind of that foundation, that piece that keeps you steady, that tethers you, that keeps you from, making decisions that would take you away from your core purpose or mission or strategy. Goal setting and what you do to then accomplish or work towards becomes a separate activity in my mind that can build upon it, but is something that allows people a lot more flexibility in how they then execute their work. So we know what to do and we know how we're going to be successful, but then how we set those goals, what things we do to accomplish or work towards are as part of that grounded direction can be put into the hands of the people that are responsible for actually achieving it, which is different, I think, than the historic top-down model.
Yeah, Jessica, my experience over my career has been the more that you can empower people within an organization, the more productive that organization is going to be, the more satisfied customers are going to be, and the better the results are that you're going to achieve. So I really agree with you that the understanding the why, understanding the what, understanding the broad how helps people connect and have clarity, and then can be empowered to make the right decisions in their day-to-day application of their work.
The other thing I think that is really key is by naming this, you can really be asking employees and getting feedback on and understanding if the vision creates the passion, if the mission creates the motivation, and if the strategy helps them to understand how the business is going to be successful. And I think by doing that, you give employees insight and connection and awareness to why those things are created in the first place and why they should care about them. And then that creates a greater investment in and understanding of the overall business and what the overall business is trying to accomplish, regardless of what role you're playing in the organization.
I agree with you.
Any final thoughts as we wrap up this episode around the purpose-grounded direction and the vision mission strategy?
I guess my only last 2 cents worth would be that I've watched over my career it really work well when you have this purpose-grounded direction, and have seen very positive results come out of that. And when I say results, Jessica, I'm talking about results where you have highly satisfied customers, because many businesses are here to serve their customers. You have very motivated and satisfied employees because they're connected and they're really enjoying and liking what they're doing. And then the business results follow. And as you've talked about, it shouldn't be all about profits. My experience has been the profits follow if these other things are done appropriately.
Absolutely. And that is why we say it is so important for businesses to pivot from a focus on only profit to a focus on this purpose-grounded direction that really integrates what we now know about neuroscience and the 3 different brains that our people have within them, and really tapping into all 3 to generate the greatest outcomes and the greatest results in your workplace. All of this is part of our Evolving Workplaces program, our Evolving Workplaces model that we are working on and producing right now. I look forward to working with many businesses in the future to help them make the transition from where they are to where they want to be. As always, reach out to Evolving to Exceptional and myself if you are a workplace that is struggling to make this transition, who truly wants to create an exceptional workplace and experience for your people. We would be happy and would love to interact with and help you in that process, supporting your HR and talent management resources to put the practices in place that are truly going to make a difference and help you become an evolving workplace. Thank you so much for your time and your attention in this week's podcast. And as always, remember to always keep evolving.